Ready. Play.
Zverev is going to be playing Ben Shelton in the second match. I think this is very interesting. I'm very intrigued about Ben Shelton in so many ways, and I'm looking forward to 2026. He's one guy in particular that I probably earmark as being someone who could get closer to Carlos and Yannick next year in terms of his age, in terms of his progression. Yes, he has been beaten by Yannick in straight sets in a few matches recently. Wimbledon this year comes to mind, and I think there was also a match indoors not long ago, maybe in Vienna. But I have big thoughts. Now, whether this tournament might just come too early for Ben, Steve, because he got that injury, didn't he, in New York, and he's still easing himself back into the tour.
Yeah, first couple of tournaments, he didn't look like himself. He had a loss to Goffin in one of them, and then he got better. In the last tournament, he lost in Paris, I guess, to Yannick in straight. It was the usual kind of script, you might say, because he hasn't found a way to impose himself as much as he'd like in that rivalry after winning their first clash. And he's lost a lot of tiebreaks, I believe 6 since then, in the losses, in that string of losses to Sinner. So, but he looked more like the old Ben, the Ben that we'd seen over the summer, the Ben who suffered the terrible injury at the Open. Hasn't beaten Zverev, but, I still would give him about a 45 to 47% chance here. I like Zverev to win, but would not be shocked if Ben had a great day and got right out of the blocks and squeezed out a 7-5 or 7-6 in the third win over Sasha.
Zverev has had a very unusual, maybe underwhelming year post-Australia.
Yes. Yeah, he has. I mean, look, he was very deflated, John. Let's face it, we've rarely heard a player that openly express his dismay over another final round loss, his third in a major final. He'd lost the 2020 Open to Thiem. He'd lost to Carlos in the 24 French. Now here, this one, he thought maybe he could finally come through in Sinner, beat him in straight. The other two were 5-setters at least, and this one was very deflating. And I do think it took him a while to get. I think that had a lot to do with what unfolded this year. Better recently, although he got hurt in Paris, so he only got a game off of Yannick there because he'd had escaped against Medvedev, saving 2 match points the day before. But and he had a good final in Vienna with Yannick, where Zverev went right down to the wire, 7-5 in the third. So he's playing better. He's looking better. I'm sure he's thrilled not to be in Fritz's group. Fritz is such a nightmare for him, as you already alluded to. So but I don't know quite. This first match may be pivotal for him, John, right? Because if he could get off to a good start and beat Ben, it always helps to get that first one under your belt and know that you probably can make it to the semis winning one of your next 2. No guarantees, but you're kind of in the driver's seat if you can, particularly if you can win that first one in straight. So there's a lot riding on it for both of them. I don't know what Ben is expecting of himself. This is a new experience for him.
Free hit, no, for Ben?
A what?
A free hit. It's like
right.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I'm looking forward to watching that one. I guess in the end, if I'm going to predict, I'd say Zverev in 3.
Yep, I think I would go with that too. It's going to be a close one, I think. But yeah, again, this might just be not quite necessarily a year too early for Ben, but I think he might be better prepared for this tournament this time next year, if he makes it, of course. And also in terms of his health, I think getting through a few rounds at some 250s and 500s, just about doable at the moment. But, this is obviously playing the elite players. And I think if Lorenzo Musetti was in this group, perhaps I might be favoring Ben to get at least a win. But it's going to be tough for Ben. He could easily have 3 narrow losses, for example. And that would still be okay, I think, just because of where Ben's at. He just needs to get some matches under his way and get himself ready for Australia, where I think a deep run will be the minimum, as in he'll be looking at quarterfinals, semifinals. Anything less than that will be a huge disappointment, because that's how how high the bar is for me in terms of Ben and his career next year, especially.
Just a quick comment off that. I agree, and particularly to add to your point that he got to the semis this year. Yeah. So he wants to be able to replicate that. In his mind, anything less than being back in the semis would be, I think, disappointing.
Definitely. Okay, but just one more thing on Zverev as well in his year. Yeah, of course, that win in Australia. I actually saw him up close in Rio. I was at that tournament. And Zverev was sort of it's a bit weird watching him in practice there because I wasn't even sure if he really wanted to be there necessarily. And his results tended to look like that. He didn't recover in time in terms of his tennis, at least in terms of Indian Wells and Miami, where he had some underwhelming results. And yes, I think he won one tournament. I think it was in Munich, wasn't it, on the clay? But going down in 4 sets to Novak, I mean, he wins the first set and then sort of fades away. Now, a lot of that, of course, is down to Novak. But yeah, a very unusual year. And of course, he was there or thereabouts with him and Carlos in 2 and 3 in the world, wasn't he, at the beginning of the year? And yet now, I don't know if you know this, Steve, the gap between Zverev and Carlos as of last week was bigger in terms of points than Zverev and the world number 1,000.
That's astounding. That is astounding.
5,000 points, more or less, is the difference between Zverev and number 2, and 5,000 points was the difference between him and the world number 1,000.
Yeah, he just doesn't win enough tournaments. He wins a lot of matches, but he needs to win more titles, not just slams. He needs more elsewhere too. And he didn't do himself justice this year. Let's face it. I frankly think he's going to have a better 2026. I'm pretty convinced of that.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.